And now here we go. And I think we're ready to roll. Okay, everyone. This is Quincy. I have with me Scott Margolius. It's my business partner, my great friends. And then we'll have something that I think is very valuable to all our Amazon seller friends. And so today, I think I'm so excited. And first of all, I would say congratulations, Scott, because behind me, as you can see, that's the new book that Scott just published to Amazon platform. I mean, as Amazon sellers, everything we do is related to Amazon. And now Scott actually, published a book on Amazon directly. It's called Plans of Action, POA. And so, Scott, how do you feel?
I mean, it's great. I have my first ISBN. I mean, it's almost like having a patent in some ways, or at least to me, and I find it very exciting, actually.
Well, that definitely is quite an accomplishment. I mean, thinking about publishing a book, it seems like, oh, it must be a long journey and endless night of editing, proofreading, and then you do all kinds of things. But it seems Amazon makes it so much easier. But before we dive into that, we want to really talk about the plans of action, the book. So, as a seller, went through account suspension, so I understand what plans of action or POA is. And one way or the other, at some point, as Amazon seller, you might need to do a POA. Whether it's an ASIN suspensions or account suspension or any other type that required by the Amazon performance team that you need to explain something, appeal something, you will come across plans for action. So what's the main motive that you pick this as the topic for the book?
It's the biggest thing I see people needing help with. It's the one thing that can torpedo your whole account. If you don't have an account, you're not making any money. If you don't have good account health, it's going to affect your ability to get the buy box. And it's the biggest thing that I saw people needed the most help with.
So what's so challenging about plans of action? People just draft up a couple of paragraphs and explain what's going on from their perspective to Amazon. How hard can that be?
I think people probably make it harder than it is. And, Amazon has a very specific structure that they usually want in terms of what they're wanting the seller to be able to say and do and understand and how they should explain themselves. And there's not really much of a blueprint for that. Amazon doesn't lay it out to you. They don't have any special, in their seller university, they don't say exactly what they're looking for or how to respond, and they don't tell you how difficult Amazon is to deal with, and that they might tell you that they're going to get back to you in 24 hours and they don't, or there's so many different things that you don't know and you almost can't know unless you've got the experience with it, unless you've actually done it. You're sitting here, you watch professional baseball and it looks easy because these professionals make it look easy, but if you go out there and try to hit a 85-mile-an-hour fastball, it's a different world. But if you've done it before, if you've hit that 85-mile-an-hour fastball and you know what that's like, and you get it for the first time, it's kind of like you watch kids in high school dunk for the first time. After they get the confidence of doing it, they're going to be doing it more, right? And that's kind of what this book does. Is it helps people to overcome the misconceptions that they have and really understand, how to fit things into a specific framework that is going to be much more likely to be accepted by Amazon. It takes a lot of the mystery out of it, and I share a lot of different anecdotes and stories and things that I've learned over the past 8 years, and I boil it down in such a way that it's helpful to people. I mean, this is basically, I view it as an incredible value. I mean, if we're talking $9, $10, maybe 2 or 3 hour read, but it could easily save you a minimum of 250 bucks, but easily 200, 2,500 bucks, and if you think about that compounding, that's just one time. I don't know how many people are experiencing a situation where they've got seller performance issues all the time. You have the potential of saving the time, the money, the trouble, the stress, the trauma, and the dollars on all of that simply by reading this book.
I agree. Not to mention the hours spent in the Facebook community, try to ask a question and then read through all the different comments, and probably at the end it still become clear as mud, right? You're
Yeah,
not sure what to do now. You have too many choices, too many
yeah,
opinions. Which one is the ones you should take, right?
for sure.
So just so everybody knows, a few years back, my I had the account suspension during Q4. So at that time, I was selling shoes already. The suspension was due to a multiple incident, involved multiple ASIN. Of course, shoes is a big part of it. And I had the same attitude as I mentioned earlier. How hard can it be to draft up a POA? So I did it. I said, I'm going to do it myself, right? And at that time, we were friends. But I say, I would give it a shot. So the first 30 days, I didn't go anywhere. What I submitted got rejected. And I got frustrated for not knowing exactly what Amazon wanted from me. So I keep submitting everything I have, and then probably in the concept of, as long as I pile up and send over everything I have, and the Amazon should go through the entire thing, understand my situation, and reinstate my account. And obviously, it didn't turn out right. So ended up, after 30 days, I reached out to Scott, and Scott is the expert in helping people get reinstated of their account. And 15 days later, I'm back in business. So I was out of selling for 45 days during a Q4. So that experience taught me a lot, resonate with what Scott just mentioned. So I was so glad that the book now came out with the amount of the detail that anyone want to try to engage Amazon to get the situation resolved quickly. This is definitely a must read. Now, let's get into exactly some of the point, the content that you put in the book. So I'm going to just go ahead and go to the if people go to Amazon.com, they search for plans of action by Scott, then you'll be able to see it. And the description has a couple of the things that Scott said. You read the book, you will be able to learn how to do the following things. And I just go through them, and hopefully Scott will be able to help us to briefly, help us to understand what that is and why it's significant, why it's valuable. So there will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points, right? So the first one is, if you read the book, it will help you to turn your POA request into an opportunity for growth. Writing a POA is, that means I'm in trouble. Why it's an opportunity?
I mean, the biggest thing is it's kind of like hitting the pause button. The same thing is like if your kid's in trouble and you tell them to go stand in the corner, as opposed to that being just punishment, you hope it gives them an opportunity to think. What did they just do? What did they do wrong? What could they be doing differently next time? Instead of just thinking about, oh, I'm in trouble, or all the different other ramifications there. It's a great opportunity for you to step back and think, what caused this? Why am I selling on Amazon? How can I deal with these things better, more efficiently? It's an opportunity for you to fix your business, fix your operation, take control of the situation, and not just, oh gosh, another one of these. They're going to happen. It's going to happen all the time. It's kind of like breathing, right? And if you have the right attitude about it, and you treat it as an opportunity to improve, even if it's not something that you're actually at fault for, you can still find an opportunity to focus on, what could you fix about your business? What could you do to make this not happen again? What could you do to do better next time?
Yeah, the thing I learned through the account suspension reinstatement is that I realized I didn't pay attention to anything happening in my account. I just focused on selling, buying, and repeat. So that's really resonate with me. Now the next one is reading the book will probably will learn how to properly research and establish the root cause for the issue. Can you comment on that?
I mean, generally, I would say you can't write an effective plan of what went wrong and what actions you have taken and how you'll prevent these things from happening in the future if you don't know what the original cause was. You've got to do the research first before you do any writing, before you do anything else to figure out what was the cause. You've got to understand the root cause and you've got to explain that clearly to Amazon. And you got to make sure that what you think the root cause is matches up with what they think it is.
Well, that is so true. I mean, finding the root cause might involve dig into something that you never thought would be causing it, the problem, right? And I think that is I went through that with you as well. So I think the things that I mean it has been buried long time ago. It could be the reason that triggered what happened. So
Well, I,
okay,
I
great.
actually use an example from your suspension in the book. And I'm not sure if you realize that it was your situation, but um, we looked everywhere in your account. We scoured everything and found out that eventually one of the ASINs that they cited you for, there wasn't anything in your account that told you what was wrong. We had to study and study and study, and we finally figured out that something had changed with manufacturing of a specific shoe. And people were upset about it because it no longer fit the way that it used to fit, even though, hey, they bought this shoe like 4 years ago and now they went back to Amazon to buy another one to replace it. It didn't fit the same way. And we wouldn't have known if we hadn't actually Googled it to determine that it is completely different factory now. And the manufacturer kept the same name and it kept the same uh, item number and all that, but the shoe didn't fit the same. It was inferior quality or inferior fit. Sometimes it's a real struggle to determine what the root cause is.
Who would have thought of such a cause? I mean, it's just something that a lot of work going into it before the POA can, can be drafted.
Yeah, yeah, and some of it's just awareness. So, not only will you talk about the critical nature of determining what the root cause is, but how to find it, and then just having a general awareness of what Amazon's looking for. It takes a lot of pressure off for you to know as a seller, hey, you can do this. You can do this on your own. You can write this effectively, and you can have confidence that you'll be successful. But there's just certain things that you need to know.
Great. Moving on to the next point. You mentioned that a good POA should speak the language of seller performance. So so how do I know, and why do I have to, write in a way that seller performance is looking for it, write in a way that will help seller performance to understand
I mean, the
my
easiest
situation?
way I can explain that is it's almost like anything else, right? If you are trying to explain what you do to somebody who is not an Amazon seller, and you're using all of the same lingo and all the same abbreviations and acronyms and all that kind of stuff that you normally would, you'll lose them. You'll lose their attention, their eyes will glaze over, they won't really walk away having any kind of a clue of what you actually do. So when somebody says, hey, what do? You end up maybe super simplifying it and saying, oh, I sell online, because you don't want to go into all that stuff, either because it's proprietary and you don't want them to know and copy what you're doing, or because it's too much trouble and most people won't understand anyway. It's kind of the same thing, if you talk about golfing, you talk about birdies and par and all these kinds of things. People who don't golf don't know what any of that is, or same thing with almost anything. If you talk to somebody who's a gearhead, or somebody who works on vehicles all the time, what's a distributor? That's something where you go find a vendor and a supplier and all that, right? No, it's this thing inside your vehicle. And if you're not speaking the same language, they're not going to understand what you're saying.
Very good point. And the next one would be so you talk about the most common mistake which causes rejection of the POA. And without going into detail, what is the most common cause of a rejection? Is it because it's too hasty, not enough detail, or?
A lot of the time, there's not enough detail.
Mm,
I tell you, the biggest thing that everybody should avoid is asking a question. You know, you get a request for a plan of action. You might not even recognize that what they're asking for is a plan of action, but you say, "What's going on here?" Or can I get somebody to call me? Can you explain to me what's happening here? Can you tell me more about this? Anything like that that's not a plan of action is not something they're going to accept. They want a very specific format. I talk about what that format is. I give you the structure that they're looking for, and certainly explain you don't want to waste their time asking questions that they're not going to answer, because they're going to consider that as your submission of a plan, even though that's not what you gave them. So you just got to be really careful about that, very mindful of that. And the other thing is to, I see a lot of plans that people submit, and it's just like it's a single paragraph, it's all munched together and doesn't really address the core issues that Amazon's looking for. They want to know, here's the root cause. This is what you've done to fix the problem. This is how you'll prevent it from happening again. They want it in that structure, they want it in that format, and they want the real things that you have done to fix the problem. You know, just saying that you've deleted the listing is not usually good enough.
very good advice. I think that alone can really help people to prevent something that 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 will cause them to keep submitting and get rejected. This is very frustrating. Not to mention the headaches and all the time spent, and you don't see the end of it, right? When you're not doing it in the right way.
I will say there's something else I kind of want to step in there, is that some really bad advice I see all the time is, oh, just keep submitting. Keep submitting it over and over, your plan over and over, because you'll get a different rep and they'll approve it. Just keep plugging away. And I don't like that advice at all. I think that that could be appropriate, but most of the time it's a mistake. If you've submitted your first plan and it gets rejected, you submit your second plan, it gets rejected. By the time that you're getting ready to submit your third plan, if you haven't made significant changes to the first or second plan, you're not close to what Amazon's looking for. You're making a mistake if you continue to submit plans, because as more and more as they get rejected, especially if you're not even close to what they're looking for, then you're going to lose their attention. Then you'll not know what to do. You'll be stuck. You'll end up, going to a service provider, professional, whatever, and it's just that much more difficult for somebody else to resolve for you, no matter who they are. It's a big mess to try to peel back all the layers of. In your situation, I'm just holding my breath. While you were doing the work on your own for a month, thinking, I'm giving you advice, but there's only so much I can do. It's kind of like driver's ed, and you've never driven before, and I tell you to go parallel park. I'm just sitting there, hoping that you don't hit the car in front of you and the car behind you, and I'm trying not to look too hard, not giving you any advice. And meanwhile, you're ramming the car in front of you and driving over the curb and all this stuff. I couldn't help you until I took over the steering wheel.
Absolutely. So that's so true. And then the last couple bullet point basically mentioned about how to draft a readable plan, and then we'll be able to also talk about going along with the plan would be the preparing the invoice, right? Because in case like a shoe inauthenticity issue, then you need to prepare your invoice, how to do it properly, annotate it properly, and then uh, because sometimes when you submit every POA, that may be just one shot that you have. I mean, we just boom,
Right.
get it resolved, right? So I think that ultimately, when you do things in the right way, the first time, not only it save you the time, but also you learn to appreciate um, the, um, the value that such as yourself, a service provider, will be able to help people concerned about, well, logically, when you first started selling, you're concerned about the cost of everything, right? You want to sell more, buy more, sell more, make more profit. And other services like, or things like account health and all those things seems to be able to put, in the back burner, whatever happened. Hopefully it's just okay, right? I won't be that statistic that those percentage I would get into trouble. But that's not true. So part of the driving up the a readable plan you mentioned earlier. When I was doing, I put a big, huge paragraph together on the on the POA, lump sum everything together, and then make all the attachment and send over, right? So so obviously there's some unique, proven way of prepare the invoice as well as structure the POA, the paragraphs, right?
Definitely, definitely. I mean, invoices or receipts are super critical to the process. You could have a perfectly good POA, but it gets rejected because your receipts aren't what they need to be, or your invoices aren't marked up properly. And so, those are things that you've got to learn about also and get the skills for that. Um, you don't want that to be a variable that's a cause for your plan of action to get rejected.
So I love it because the book, the name is called Amazon Plan Plans of Action. So Plan of Action POA is the document itself, but going along with it, you talk about in the book, how did you prepare to before you even start drafting the plans of action? And then once you have something, and then what needs to be, how it should be drafted, and then how the invoice should go along with it. And what happened afterward that Amazon responds to your first POA. I mean, it's not the end of the story yet, right? So getting the book, reading through, spend a couple hours reading, getting the good advice. I think this is definitely uh, a good investment for every Amazon seller, whether you do it yourself or you want to have somebody else help you, but at least you know what is going on, right?
For sure,
So,
for sure. I
so
mean,
how much is it?
how much is what?
The book,
$10.
$10.
I mean,
Do
I think it's
you,
the best deal going, really.
is it in the physical book? Is it a PDF or a Kindle?
It's Kindle. We should have a paperback available maybe as soon as tomorrow, which, by the time this airs, that should be ready to go.
Okay, so so the price would be the same or would be different?
It'll be a little bit more for the paperback.
Okay. I learned that now going back, I would like to have a physical copy in my hand. So kind of reading through the pages, smell the pages, and then you can annotate, highlight. I think that's something that would be very helpful to me
Yeah,
and many people. So I
yeah,
think I'm glad that we have both options. So I already downloaded the PDF. So because I've been reading it on the Kindle anyway. So, but I'm looking forward to the availability of the physical book.
yeah. I
And
think that'll help a lot. It's nice to be able to, dog ear it or mark it up or whatever, and have it nearby as you're crafting a plan. Ideally, you would be reading this and familiar with what these principles are far before it's necessary for you to craft your next plan. You don't want to have to do it all at the same time. You want to have that knowledge in advance. Just like you wouldn't want to read a CPR book while somebody's sitting next to you expiring.
it's so true. I mean, for as an Amazon seller,
You'd
you
already
and
want to have
me,
those skills.
yeah, we kind of it's not about whether we need eventually have to do a POA. It's basically we are all going to might as well be prepared for it, right?
Yeah.
Get the right information the first hand and then do it right the first time, because obviously we that will afford us to have a good account and then continue to sell and source and sell and make more profit. And so the whole process about publishing the book, now we'll just talk about the book, the content, what the book does. And thank you for the advice and the introduction. But the process of publishing a book on Amazon, I mean, the whole process, I mean, how was it? I mean, do you like it? I mean, is it difficult or what is it?
I mean, all of the majority of the effort went into all of the preparation, the plans, the writing, all of that far in advance of ever having to think about the publishing aspect. So the publishing aspect was kind of just I jumped in and did it. Um, and after doing it, I found, oh, there's this expert I should have been talking to all along, and that would have helped immensely. And if there are additional books that I put out, then I'll certainly work with them, because it's helpful to have an expert. It's helpful to be able to work with somebody who knows what they're doing. And I certainly would not call myself a publishing expert by any means. But after finding somebody who said, "Oh, you should do this and this and this," I thought, "Okay, take my money. I I want you to do this stuff. I don't want to be in charge of this." But I didn't look very hard to find somebody who could do it. And I would recommend working with somebody like that if you have in mind to put a book out.
Great, because I've been thinking about publishing a book in the area that I'm interested in, I have a knowledge in. So I kind of probably later on I would talk to you more about that. And I encourage the people that there's so many tools out there. Amazon, I mean, we're selling on Amazon. And if it's such a platform, and then we have the content that would add value to people, definitely I would like to consider that.
Yeah.
Now, when the book is out, I read the book and I have some questions, or later on, maybe I encounter some kind of issue that I need some help. So, how can I reach out to you? What's the best way?
I mean, I do have contact information in the book itself, but mostly it'd be ideal to either reach me on my website, ecomsellertools.com, ECOM seller tools with an S.com, or you could ping me on Facebook Messenger, would be ideal, or you could send me an email. I have a contact form on the website. All that's pretty straightforward. We have various forms for people to fill out if they've been suspended, or if their ASIN has been restricted and they want looking for an evaluation. There are just so many different types of things that we can help people with on Amazon. And the nice thing is that if I can't help you, I usually would know somebody who I would refer you to.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your time today, Scott. And again, congratulations on launching the book on Amazon platform. I think it will bring a tremendous value to Amazon sellers. For people in my group that are selling shoes, I think this is a valuable asset to add to your toolbox. You can always refer back to and prepare yourself just in case you need to, address specific account issue through, drafting up, writing up, submitting a plans of action so that you get your issue taken care of with the Amazon seller, the performance team. So I think I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to getting a physical copy of the book in my hands and read through it again myself. So Scott, thank you, and I look forward to talking to you again in the near future. And then hopefully it's not about the account issue, but who knows, right? So I think in the Amazon community, we're all connected to each other, and we finding the right answer the first time is really something that we should be paying attention to, instead of wasting a lot of time getting a lot, not the information, but we don't want to be in a situation that after all that, we're still clear as mud. So I appreciate for the service that you provide to Amazon seller community, and I look forward to seeing that you're making a more impact into sellers. So today I think that's it. I just encourage people to go to Amazon.com, and then you can either get it at the Kindle edition or physical book. And for people in my as a subscriber to my service, then I will plan on giving each subscriber in the coming days when everything's prepared for it, and then we'll give you a copy for free. And then because I think is that valuable, what Scott said in the book. Okay, everyone. So have a good day. Source more, sell more, and make more profit. Thank you again, Scott.
Right. Yep. Thank you, Quincy.